I always like this theme of never beat up the message. But I've come to a conclusion that the messenger is the closest you can come to in any organization. So I've accepted that as a messenger, blows must come to me, I absorb them and I run with them. Thank you very much, members of the media. Municipalities across the country have begun constituting governments in line with the Municipal Structures Act that called for setting up government within 14 days of the declaration of the results following the elections. The ANC is humbled and appreciates the overwhelming support we received from South Africans in these elections, won the majority of seats nationwide. It's a message that nobody wants to ever talk about. Actually, when you hear people talking about the ANC, you can think that it's an ANC that is lying on its bed and everybody works on it. We won the majority of seats nationwide, 54.2% of the final vote. The ANC is now a government of choice in 161 municipalities across the country out of 213. 161 out of 213, we are governing outright. Once again, thank the millions of South Africans who voted for the ANC to retain it as a majority party, reaffirming their confidence in our project of fundamental social and economic transformation. We have, however, for the first time, suffered serious setbacks in a number of municipalities. This includes some metros where there has not been outright winner. This situation represents a reversal of our democratic gains and the reassertion of power by our SY colonizers. Coalition governments have been established by opposition parties to govern some areas. Many of these are not based on principles of serving the people, but rather on the common desire to remove the ANC's National Liberation Movement from power at all costs. They are characterized by inconsistent messaging that is devoid of any revolutionary commitment to defeat the real enemy of the people, monopoly capital. Oratory of rhetoric is used to project revolutionary agenda when in reality the coalitions are a stance dictated by funders not dissimilar to ill-fated Ye-Ahang measure. When a party says we rather have no coalition with nobody, they go and sleep, they wake up and say, no, we'll not vote with the ANC, we'll vote with the TA. But in Johannesburg, the choice of a mayor we don't like, they go and sleep, they wake up and say, we'll vote for that mayor in any way. To us, it sounds like somebody with a bag dictating the terms of coalitions. And that is not a surprise for us as the ANC. Members and supporters of this must not be distracted by this sound and fury signifying nothing from opposition parties. We have listened to the voices of people, accepted their judgment, must now deliver on their aspirations. ANC-led municipality must be model of democratic and accountable government, where services are delivered in a sustainable manner. Our public representatives must redouble their efforts to change the lives of our people for the better. To this end, hard work, responsiveness, accountability will be the criteria against which we judge ANC councillors. Social and economic development will be at the core of our agenda, and all residents will be encouraged to participate meaningfully in matters of governance. We dare not fail the mandate the people have bestowed upon us. In municipalities, we do not govern. members of the ANC are called upon to constitute an effective and activist opposition. Ours is not to block or delay service delivery, but rather to protect the gains of our revolution and run against any actions to reverse this. Our ANC councillors must continue to be fearless voice of the people. We must be vigilant against attempts to negate the strides made by blacks in general and Africans in particular through effective instruments created by the ANC, such as affirmative action and black economic empowerment. As you know, that both the mayor of Nelson Mandela and Johannesburg have declared that one of the things they will close and stop is employment equity and black economic empowerment. We must be vigilant and guard against the reversal of those gains. We must guard against the further entrenchment of inequality in our cities through spatial planning and service delivery that favors already privileged, as we have already witnessed in Cape Town. The myth of a corrupt-free democratic alliance must be debunked and hold them to account for delivery in all the areas they lead. As we committed, members of the NEC will begin engagement with the people from this coming weekend. This will be the commencement of a comprehensive program throughout the country, especially in areas where we witnessed a significant electoral decline. This engagement intended to ensure that we understand and appreciate both subjective and objective factors that have led to the electoral outcomes and take decisive action against this. Part of this demands that we do not rest until we've rooted out the ANC from the ANC all elements that act in a manner that is un-ANC and anti-ANC. This includes acting where there are allegations of criminal behavior by ANC members and any act that brings the organization to disrepute. Continuation of assassination of candidates and members of the organization is a criminal offense. Offenses, and we must relate to them as such. We offer our most sincere condolences to the family of Comrade Non-Charles Tombim Tembu, who passed away during the council sitting of the city of Johannesburg yesterday. In her honor, we have no doubt that the ANC across the country and even from opposition benches will work hard to represent the aspiration of the people who dedicated their life to serving. If we have learned any lesson from this election is that indeed history does repeat itself. The ANC and progressive forces will always be defeated if we are disunited. We call on members and supporters of the ANC to use 2016 as a catalyst for organizational growth and renewal. We will not rest until we have regained the confidence of the people and return our revolution to the correct trajectory. That is the end of our statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SG. Shall we take any quick questions, if any? Ms. Wandile Bronze. Shahan first. Where's my... No, I think you're audible enough.
Okay, Mr. Matashe, just regarding the ANC losing grip in 3 metros so far.
Come again.
The ANC losing grip in 3 metros so far. We saw in 2006 that the DA took over Cape Town. Do you fear that you won't be able to regain power of these key metros? And if you do believe you will regain power, how are you going to rejuvenate yourself as a party to get back in touch with voters?
Thanks, Shahan.
The SG has just said they will need to go and engage people on what needs to be done. I think one of the things that is perhaps emerging generally when you speak to people is that there needs to be first a new direction from the movement, and then that new direction meaning you also have to have new leadership, because what they're saying is that it looks like the ANC is doing one and the same thing, hoping for different results. And we have had the ANC Youth League saying maybe there's a need for an early conference so that there'd be enough time to prepare for 2019, because I think right now everyone seems to be campaigning for 2019. So what exactly is your position with regards to this?
Thanks, Mzwa. Matlatsi, are you still with SABC?
Yes, I'm still with SABC.
Are you serving your last days?
Yes.
Okay.
SG, the other criticism added on to Mzwai's question is that even from the NEC statement, while you're calling it collective responsibility, there's no acknowledgement of what the leadership has done wrong to distance itself from the voters and to see the numbers as we've seen them, especially in the urban centers. I mean, he's still talking to, there's no acknowledgement, for example, of how the Nkandla matter was handled by the party, issues of corruption. And that is where the criticism is from society, that this leadership is not taking responsibility for the fact that they contributed to the electorate turning away, especially in the big metros. Do you not think that part of healing is accepting what you've heard and maybe saying it's time for this leadership to give space for a new leadership to come in so that people can see a renewal of the organization?
Thanks, Matlatsi. I can't see because there's a big
Jacaranda.
Okay, let me start here, Jacaranda. She is a big fan of Jacaranda today.
What? The Youth League has called for your head, saying that you must be the one who
No,
resigns from
they have not called for my head.
Continue, Jacaranda.
The Youth League says you must be the one who resigns from the ANC, since you are saying that people must resign. What's your position on that? And lastly, what's your overall position as the ANC for the call of the ANC looking for special national congress? You see the opposition is getting younger and younger, Muslim Mani is young, Madema is young, and the ANC has a collective that is rather aging and can't match up to the speed and energy of these youngsters. How are you going to have organizational renewal whilst we are an aging organization and we are largely becoming a rural party since you've also lost to these metros? How are you going to play opposition politics when you have also failed in Cape Town to play that role?
In that aging, you include me as well. No, I'm asking, you include me as well in the aging.
For new young leaders, what is your comment on this stance?
SG, I think let's start with that first round of questions. We have one.
Masaki Gana from Eyewitness News. I just want to touch on, you saying history is showing that it can repeat itself, it has repeated itself. I just would like clarity on what you mean by that.
In the statement is.
Yeah.
This is the part.
Yes.
Keyword.
Okay. What is it? We are losing grip on 3 metros, lost power in Cape Town. How will we reconnect If politics were walking in a straight line, I would accept that. The ANC can do a number of things. Let me tell you, because the way it is captured is that we've lost 3 metros, and sometimes loosely projected as somebody having won those metros. Do you get my point? In this case, nobody has won those metros. It's metros that are governed by a collection of a big number of parties. That in itself is an opportunity, because to have a coherent program will require a lot of hard work among those parties. And the ANC, if it is effective in the opposition benches, can actually turn the balance of forces in its favor. That's what it will do. Work hard, accept that you are in opposition. You know, sometimes, and I'm very critical of ANC when it is in the opposition. Sometimes it behaves as if it is in power when it is in opposition. It must interrogate issue, ask questions, dig things, follow them through. And if the ANC does that, and it can prove that we governed Johannesburg well, we governed Tshwane well, but it has now left as a hung municipality, we must ask our questions, what it is. It goes to the last question of history repeating itself. We said history repeats itself that if we are not united, we will lose power. We have examples of many liberation movements that as a result of disunity, we have lost power. And in our view, the first challenge is to ensure that we work hard for unity and work together as a coherent organization. Now, when you are under siege and your back is against the wall, the worst thing you can do is when you do finger pointing and you continue hurting each other by attacking each other and think that when you do that you are doing a favor. Let me give you an example of a number of provinces have been advised, listen, don't talk negative about the ANC because that will come back and haunt you. Because the electorate remembers what you said, and sometimes people don't vote for the ANC in support of what they think are your views. And those are the things that we must learn very, very quickly. We are going to recover. That you can go out and read the public narrative that is there, repeat it over and over, and think that you are winning the support and the favor of the electorate. And the electorate just doesn't vote for the ANC in support of what you are repeating up out there in the public. Now, we must unite, then talk to our people. We are starting this weekend. We're going to listen and act. Basically, yesterday we were saying, do we need a research and interpretation? Research can follow, but we know the problems that we came across when we were campaigning. Let's go back to the people, talk to them about them, own up where we have erred, and actually recommit ourselves to do the right thing. Now, reconnecting requires new direction and new leadership. New direction is a function of the work of the organization. You don't sit somewhere in some corner and say, I have a new direction and bring it to an organization. Organizations don't work that way. It is an outcome of engagement within the organization. What is it that we should do different? What is it that we should do as a new intervention? And one of the biggest risks is to throw away everything you know and hope that out of the new, you will be a better organization instead of building on what you know and adapt and bring new issues and new approaches to dealing with issues. That is what is required. For example, new leadership. One of the things that the ANC is known for, many of the opposition parties that have clubbed against us have life presidents. You can think of them, all of them, formed parties a few years ago, they are president for life. In the ANC, we go for elections every 5 years. If we want to have an early conference, as the Youth League is calling for, the Youth League calls for that is a structure. In the National Conference of the ANC, it has the same status as any other province. It has a right to make a proposal to the ANC, and the ANC structures must consider it. And for example, if we have an early conference, do we go to that early conference with the aim of consolidating, or do we go to an early conference and we fight it out in the early conference, and then we go to that conference just blood on the floor? Unless there is a discussion clearly of, yes, early conference, what is the objective, how do you manage the process to that new conference to get the results, it's not a bad idea. It's actually being discussed in various structures of the ANC whether it should be done. But the question that confronts us is, we can't go to a conference because we're angry, because we've done badly, we've seen a decline in the elections, and then we rush to an early conference. And we go and fight it out there, smash each other in the conference, blood on the floor. We come out of that conference more divided. We should go, if we go to an early conference, it should be an early conference with an objective, clear, reflecting unity that is required for the ANC. And if we do that, the idea of an early conference is not a bad idea, because it will give whatever leadership come out of that conference a longer period to prepare for 2019. Now, somebody say we didn't acknowledge Ngandla. Now, you see, Matlas, that's all you know, Matlas, Ngandla. Yeah? That's all. That's all you say. Ngandla. Okay. No. I think people sometimes do not listen to our message. You know, that's what happens when, this is what I always call, it's a function of trust deficit. Trust deficit makes people to close their ears to a message we said. Among the issues in our analysis we had was the negative narrative which was consistent towards the president of the ANC. That would include a number of issues that are raised in the public, including Ngandla, Matlas. That is one of the issues that we are grappling with. How do we deal with that issue? Because we must deal with it whether it is a fact or a perception. Because any perception left unattended is more dangerous than facts. So I think, Matlas, what you expected as like, we list this, Ngandla, this, no. We say every negative narrative that went to the president did hit at the ANC, because you can't separate a president of an organization from its organization. So any negative narrative that goes to a president of an organization will actually hurt the organization. We acknowledge that upfront. Now, and we agreed to take collective responsibility. Let me explain. It's like the issue of resigning from the ANC. What we are saying, I want to explain this concept again. If we take collective responsibility, our conscience must allow us to accept that if need be, we must resign in numbers. That is what collective is. It's not individual responsibility. I can tell you that if you say because of this result I must resign, I will go to Ziz and say, why are you remaining behind? Because we're in the same collective, work together. If we made blunders, we did them together. That's the essence of the issue. And in my own view, you know, in discussing this issue, we looked into a number of parties. Let me give you just two. Look at the Labour Party in Britain. every time they have a leader who leads it to elections, it does badly, that leader gets changed. El Miliband takes it from a leader who didn't have good result. He leads it to the election, he doesn't get the results, he gets changed. They go to the referendum, the leader of the Labour Party is under scrutiny, and the Prime Minister of Britain resigns. You go to the Labour Party in Australia, you'll see the same. We looked into a number of parties that are similar to us, that are in the Socialist International, and said, this is the trend that happens. That's why the idea of a leadership resigning as a result of bad results is not a far-fetched idea. Now, if the ANC Youth League says, if we talk to that issue, I must take the fall, so be it. That's my attitude to this issue. That leadership means taking responsibility, be accountable. If the constituents say, pack your bag, pack it. Simple. But the debate must be in the organization, should not just be a call that let Gwede go. No, it's not about Gwede, it's about a leadership that led the ANC, and there's a decline, 8% decline in the outcome of the elections. And therefore that leadership collectively must be able to have a serious debate about what happens when we lead an organization and there's 8% decline in the organization. And not be selective and say, you see, province that is better, province that is better, and so forth. And in doing so, you make your choices in a factional way. That a province that has declined by 10%, you say it has done well. And a province that has declined by 4%, you say it must be chopped. That is factionalism that the ANC must confront and fight at all costs. That when we do analysis, if we're going to recover, we must be objective. If we think that those we love must not be touched, those we hate must be touched, we will be committing a similar mistake, we'll sink deeper into the hole. Now, ANC is aging, it's 104 years. Okay, it's not 3 years old. Okay, it is 104 years. It has generations and generations of leadership. Okay, I want you to understand the difference. So when you compare it to young parties and say the other parties are getting younger, they're not getting younger, they are young. They are young. The ANC is 104 years old. That's why beyond this leadership that you say is old, is aging. I want you to listen. Beyond this leadership that you say is aging, you find that there are layers and layers of veterans who have very strong views on what is happening in the ANC. The reason for that is not a curse, it's a blessing that the ANC has all these layers of leaders who must help itself, rediscover itself, adapt, and move on. That is the advantage of being an old movement. For example, when you listen to our veterans critical of us, sometimes you get irritated, sometimes you think that, hey, these veterans, why didn't they come quietly to us? The reality is that those are generations of leaders of the ANC who have views. And they have views because they are leaders in their own right. And the ANC must better listen to all these layers of leaders rather than thinking that it can just reinvent itself, hand over power to young people to run the ANC. The ANC is old, it's 104 years. It has traditions, it has cultures. It must adapt. So, becoming rural, I don't know. Not unless you write off the huge numbers that voted for us in all the metros. Okay, we didn't have an outright majority. But we didn't get 10% in these metros, okay? Millions of people in those metros voted for the ANC. So if you call it is becoming rural, that needs a more correct analysis and definition. We are in these metros, when we are in opposition in Johannesburg, it will not be a small opposition. It will be a huge, quite a big opposition. That is the biggest component of that council. Okay, it is the biggest component of the Johannesburg Council. It will be in opposition. It must just find the art and technique of being in opposition and be effective because it is huge. It must have shadow MMCs. When the mayor presents a budget, the shadow mayor Pakistan must be able to take that mayor, tear him apart, because he understands the city. That's all is required. So your ANC that is becoming rural and so forth, we have a strong support in the rural areas. We appreciate that. And we don't want to give it away. We want to continue. That's why municipalities led by the ANC in those rural areas must deliver services in those rural areas. A municipality in Kala doesn't require the same things that are required in the city. Fencing of fields, that municipality there must appreciate that fencing of fields is a major issue. Fencing of camps for animals is important. So they are equally important. The debate over the last 2 weeks has been one that almost said life begins and ends in the metros. There is no country. And I think we should disabuse ourselves of that notion. We must serve our people everywhere. That's it. All the questions have been answered.
Yeah. I think there was one question which was asked by 1, 2, 3 people, which you've answered about the call of the Youth League.
Yes, I've answered that.
Yeah, I think that brings. No, I know you're gonna call me when I leave here. Please ask the question.
No, I don't have a question.
How shall I?
Don't phone.
Okay. That brings an end, ladies and gentlemen. Our presser, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe just answering questions after that media briefing on the conclusion of the governance of municipalities. So quite a lot was said there on the election results, on leadership issues facing the ANC.
Na ukangambuza kaswana. Ukangambuza kaswana kitawaraba. Yes, Tom. Kitawaraba. Ibile kitawaraba sintra.
Somebody do spectrum tonight.
What time? I can do it. I'll be somewhere.
Molo Haja.
Hello, SG. I've been very worried.
I'm here.
Very worried.
I'm not worried about myself. What? You see, there is a biblical expression that says, don't worry about me, worry about yourself and your children.